So I asked him, when can we expect this digital nomad visa to be approved?
Okay.
And he told me it will be on, I think there is a specific income requirement per year. I think it's around, they're actually encouraging digital nomad to stay in Siargao. So because it is a bit harder for younger expats to get a visa here in the Philippines, that's why I think they're pushing for this visa so that they can stay longer.
Let's move on to digital nomad visa. I know some of you guys are waiting for this. Can you give us some information about this digital nomad visa?
Sure. I actually attended a Digital Nomad Summit in Siargao last year, where I was part of the panelists or speakers in this Digital Nomad Summit. So one of the guests was actually the congressman of, I think, Surigao del Norte, who actually authored the bill. And in that talk, he actually explained to us what is the digital nomad visa. So I asked him, when can we expect this digital nomad visa to be approved?
Okay.
And he told me it will be on probably second quarter of 2024. But a lot of things in the Philippines actually take a lot of time. So ideally, it will be second quarter. They're really doing their best to push it through this year. But the process of passing a law in the Philippines actually takes a lot of time. I mean, our reproductive health bill took 13 years. So just be a lot patient. And I know a lot of people are actually asking about this is because a lot of other countries are actually offering this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Bali, I think either Korea or Japan just actually rolled out their digital nomad visa.
So that is where they got this idea.
I think so, but also because there's a lot, the options in getting a visa in the Philippines, especially if you're young, and you don't have, example, you don't have a company, you don't have a job here in the Philippines, you just want to stay here, it's actually a bit difficult.
Yeah,
right? And this digital nomad visa, as long as you can prove that you are actually a nomad and you have you're working digitally, you can actually get a 12-month visa here in the Philippines, right? You just have to have a travel insurance, proof that you are indeed a digital nomad, proof of income. And I think there is a specific income requirement per year. I think it's around 24,000 USD a year.
A year?
A year, yeah. And also, because currently, if you're coming to the country as a foreigner, after 6 months, you actually become a tax resident.
Okay.
Now, I actually asked this question during the summit. Does the holder of the digital nomad visa have to pay taxes on the income? Of course, not an income generated in the Philippines, right? It's generated from wherever the companies they're working at. And actually, no. They don't have to pay for taxes that they earn while working as a digital nomad here in the Philippines.
Okay.
So they don't become a tax resident. So this is actually valid for 12 months, and then I think renewable for another 12 months. So I've read the bill, and there's still a lot of room for interpretation, but it says 12 months.
Okay.
And then, because whenever a bill is passed in the Philippines, normally what follows is an implementing rules and regulations, or what we call an IRR.
Yeah.
And once that's passed, then we will have the specifics on the digital nomad visa. And I think one of the things I'm, kind of like probably why the government is, bouncing off, like, should we do this?
Yeah.
Because before the SRRV, which I think we've discussed before, the Special Resident Retirees Visa, this was actually people who are 35.
The early retirement visa.
The early retirement visa, the SRRV Smile, actually allowed 35 years old. Now it's 50. And then what happened was a lot of Chinese nationals took advantage of this. So they had to suspend the visa.
Okay.
This is actually not anything against them.
Yeah.
It's a fact. Like, you can read it on the news that why the SRRV Smile was suspended.
So it's not a secret.
Yeah, it's not a secret. My only fear is if this happens, it's going to be good for our economy, of course.
Yeah, that's true.
But this, I'm concerned that people will take a lot of advantage on this visa as well. But the good thing is, for places like Siargao, for example, they're actually encouraging digital nomad to stay in Siargao. They're calling it a digital nomad hub, the Philippines. So that's the thing that they're aiming for. That's why it's actually the congressman or a representative of Surigao that's actually pushing for this visa. Because there are a lot of expats in
Siargao.
In Siargao, and they are younger expats.
Yeah.
So because it is a bit harder for younger expats to get a visa here in the Philippines, that's why I think they're pushing for this visa so that they can stay longer. Because the current status is you arrive here in the Philippines, you get 30 days. You extend another 30 days. And then after that, you extend every 2 months, which is kind of a hassle,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
And then you also risk becoming a tax resident here in the Philippines after 6 months. So this digital nomad visa will really like change things for expats here in the Philippines.
That's true.
Yeah.
The only thing that I think will be not so difficult, but like you really need to comply on that. The amount of like money you need to show every year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You have-
24,000 or I don't know, US dollars that you need to prove that you have that income.
Exactly. There are no specifics yet on how you can show this income.
Yeah.
But I think bank statements.
Yeah.
I think the difficulty in proving also is because a lot of the digital nomads are actually, contractors.
Yeah.
Getting the employment contract from their employers. How can we prove that this company actually exists? Because currently, if we're getting documents from, for example, the US,
Yeah.
we actually need apostille. So meaning it has to be verified in the US. So now the problem would be with the digital nomad visa, how can the Philippines verify that, oh, this is actually a valid company?
This digital nomad visa is like the alternative or like a replacement for that SRRB Smile, you think? Are they still gonna like remove the suspension of that visa?
I am not sure if they're gonna suspend it, but the difference is for the SRRB Smile, you
Yeah.
need to have invested a certain amount of money, like 20,000 USD.
Okay.
But with the digital nomad visa, there is no deposit needed to get this visa.
Yeah.
There's only certain requirements
Yeah.
proving that you are indeed a digital nomad.
Why do you think Philippines is an attractive country to retire in for for foreigners?
Well, aside from a lot of the foreigners actually want to get married here, aside from our country having a very, very attractive nature, aside from being, having a very just
Calm
very
and peaceful,
calm and
yeah.
peaceful and very friendly people. I
Yeah.
think there are a lot of homes or assisted facilities here in the Philippines that actually cater to our retirees.
Retirees, yeah.
So there's a lot of the Philippine Retirement Authority is actually the place that caters to retirees here in the Philippines, especially if they have the SRRV or the
Yeah.
retirement visa. They have accredited assisted homes that can actually take care of them, right?
Like a nursing home?
Like a nursing home, yeah, for them. So I think, and our medical facilities here in the Philippines are actually really competitive. As long as you have, the proper outlets like
Yeah.
insurance, and it's not as expensive as the US.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
like
true.
even getting your tooth plucked
Yeah.
in the US is
It's
expensive.
actually, yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
In the Philippines, it's very cheap.
It's a lot cheaper than, and then a lot of people here can actually get their own nurse. So you know how a lot of Filipinos are actually nursed outside of the country?
That's true.
You can actually get that as well in the Philippines for, I think, a lesser amount of price.
Yeah.
So for ailing retirees, you actually have this option to live a better life in the Philippines rather than having, going into an assisted home in the US or other countries where it's cold, where there's not much to see. Here, you can do it in a tropical country.